Hello everyone, my name is Mikhail. I'm a professional artist and teacher. Today, we're going to paint with acrylic paints. Let's start with the materials we'll need. We'll need Pebeo acrylic paint. It's an eco-friendly acrylic that works really well on canvas. Water to dilute the acrylic and brushes. I use synthetic brushes. I have flat synthetic brushes, pencils, and a reference image. We're going to recreate one of my works that was originally done in oil paint. Beautiful lavender fields. Let's start with the sketch. In the upper left corner, you can see the photo I used as a reference for this painting. Let's take a pencil and outline the drawing. We can see that just above the horizon line there's a sloping line of the field. We can start with the tree, but a bit to the left of center.
Tak.
Let's also mark the other trees we have here. Our tree is a little lower. Please pay attention to the levels, so we don't have all the trees at the same height. Then we'll move on. We have a sloping field, but our houses are perfectly level horizontally. So we have the field, and here's where the house goes. It's completely horizontal. This is important when we're drawing architecture. We've sketched the first house. We have more trees here. We can even shade them a little, it's fine. Green fence, green bushes. Additionally, we also have another building here. I try to make sure all the lines aren't in a single line. One roof is slightly lower than the second lower than the third, and they're all at different levels.
Tak.
Also pay attention to the foundation. We can even move this tree a little bit to have it here. I'll move it over here a bit. I'll cover the corner. We have one line, a second, and a third for the base, so we can add shadows here later. But that's for later. We can draw the line of houses. Lower if you want more sky, higher if you want more field, or in the middle. I've placed it a bit higher here because I think the lavender is more important to us. All right, let's begin. We'll start from the bottom. Notice I'm making a small mark. We're going with this kind of turn. We've done one and moved here. Another one and a third. Then another row, and it's quite wide. Notice that. You can measure these distances. Take this distance and see how many of these parts can fit in here. And slowly start raising the lines, and they should fan out. All right, we've finished the bottom. Now we'll do the clouds. You can draw the clouds in a free form. Excellent. Now we'll take some hairspray. Just regular hairspray to fix the drawing. We'll wait for a while until it dries, and then we'll start working with color. I'm putting the pencil away. And let's begin. We're squeezing out the white paint. You can use any palette you like. I have a wooden palette, but you can use plastic or glass ones. Whichever you prefer. Now we will create the base for the sky. I am not using a big brush yet. I will add a little pink and ochre. Try to mix a variety of colors if you want to achieve realism in your paintings.
Да.
And we are doing it. Notice how well this paint applies. When we paint the sky, it is always darker at the top, so I use less white paint there. We can add a little ochre. Additionally, a bit more pink. You can use all the blue shades you have. This will make your work more expressive. And we start going down, adding more white paint. This is quite generous. I am diluting the paint with water to make it elastic and soft. This is some more pink. We will add some white. And as we go down, it gets whiter. We can make it even whiter. This is not pure white. It is still a blue color, just very, very light. I will go over it with a second layer. The transition is too abrupt. We will add it right on top. Excellent. Now we are mixing pink and ochre. I will also add some black to give it a gray tint. For the clouds, blue, black. And with movements like this, we are creating horizontal movements. We're creating the dark part of the clouds. The clouds at the top will be lighter, but I'll still add this grayish tone anyway. I'm making the shadow larger than necessary, so that I have the option to go over it with light later. Go over them and create the shadow of the size we need. This isn't white paint, it's still light gray for now. We're creating the base. This is a technique from classical oil painting, where we work in layers. That's excellent. And now we're picking up a lighter color. Almost white, so we can be bolder with it. With broad strokes. Great clouds. Let's add a few more effects. We can add a bit of ochre to give us an additional shade. We can squeeze out some yellow. A little bit of light color. This will add an extra sunny effect. Excellent. We're squeezing out red to make our roofs. Now we'll do the roofs. You can clean with a damp cloth, remove excess paint, and wash in water. Let's start making the roof. We're taking yellow and red ochre. We can make it thicker and take more paint. and go over our roofs. The flat brush allows us to make even angles. Oh, I'm not using that paint. I'll wipe my palette right away so it doesn't dry out. Let's mix a bit more paint with a slightly different shade of yellow to add some variation. Well, there was supposed to be a house, but I think it's okay. We'll cover it with a tree later.
Tak.
We're taking pink with red, blue, ochre, and white. This will be the color of our walls in the shade. I'm making it darker than necessary so that I can go over it later with lighter colors, with lighter paint. We've done the base. Now yellow, ochre, and white. We can add some pink. Here we're adding with a dry brush technique. A bit lighter, we have a reflection there. Excellent. Now I'm additionally removing excess paint from the brush. And we'll do some additional work here. I'm taking blue, black, and red ochre. To add shadows from the roof here. We'll do the windows later. Now we're moving to green. Now I'm going to add some more green. But we'll be mixing our main green from blue. I'm taking black, blue, and yellow to mix a very dark shade for the shadows. Color. Contrast is very important in painting. Contrast. Working from color is simpler and faster. Next, we have aerial perspective. Aerial perspective is when objects farther away have less contrast. And we can use white, make it less contrasting and more blue. This is how aerial perspective works. I'm adjusting the house here because I added too much of it. I'll add some blue to create shadows right away. We have shadows from the tree and shadows from the houses. We can add a blue reflection on the tree. Cypress. We'll paint the cypress later. And now we're mixing a lighter color, more summery, a light summer green paint. And we can take an even more yellow tone, light green, yellow, and white to create a field here right away. You can use a thinner brush. My brush doesn't allow me to work with fine lines. But you can use a thinner brush. I have some green paint left. I want to spread it in this part. Simply. I need a bit more of a slightly lighter yellow paint. To convey the light on the trees. Excellent. Now we'll move to the foreground. More impasto, thicker, in larger volume. I'm taking ochre, white, and yellow to create light on our houses. Let's draw the cypress. We can do 2. We also have a shadow on the roof.
What?
By the way, I'm making it a purple shade. We can mix in a bit more of a ginger color to add some touches. The line got smudged, I'm fixing it. That's how we're creating our lavender. For beautiful lavender, we're taking blue, red, pink, and dark blue. Let's start with the darkest. We can use black. Let's create volume first, with contrasting shadows. And then we'll start mixing in lighter colors. With these large brush strokes, our front part, the foreground, is more detailed. Further back, we're moving into calmer lines. We're starting to lighten the color. I'm not mixing it very light right away, so that I have the opportunity to add more shades later. For additional tones, we're creating the base. We're using all the blue paints we have, along with red and pink. I'm taking the paint very thickly. We're covering it. The camera might not capture all the shades of lilac, and it might appear on screen that I'm painting with blue. But I'm mostly using shades of purple, so go by what you see in the reference, the original image. I'm keeping the field pattern lines so I don't lose them. And we smoothly transition into a straight horizontal line. There, we've laid the foundation for the fields. Let's color in the last few sections. Now we're going to paint not the field, but the ground. I'm taking red and black ochre. And here we're creating these shadows. Shadows from our lavender. Now we're moving on to a brighter, more yellow color. We're trying to make the lines bolder. I'm taking turquoise paint with green. Ideally, you should have at least 2 or 3 colors. Let's add the grass. And now we're going to make it thicker, more.
Yeah.
With a thick layer of our lavender in the foreground. And most importantly, we're making it lighter with white paint. White, pink, light blue. You can use turquoise too. Straighter and more even lines. The closer they are to the foreground, the more defined they become. Let's add some lighter tones to create an aerial perspective in the field. The more shades you have, the more interesting your lavender will look, additionally. Make sure to extend beyond the foreground to create a sense of an open composition. The unpainted canvas looks good. In this way, we are reminiscent of the great Impressionists, Claude Monet, Cézanne, Sisley. They often left parts of the canvas unpainted. It shows a slightly casual approach, a more professional attitude towards painting, and a lack of focus on minor details. Another shade, darker and slightly more red. We can mix it darker to get this deeper shade. To show the depth of the lavender. Let us mix in some lighter tones. Excellent, I like it. I really like how the acrylic behaves. I think it is a godsend for artists. For artists. Now I will add some yellow to give it more expressiveness. We are using acrylic paint from the ARG line. We are creating additional contrast. We can add a bit more here and there. We are lightening it with dry brush technique. We are making the line more sunny. I will use a thinner brush. I will take another brush, an oval one. We have made our town, our farm, more lively. Here we can fill in any unpainted areas and also add more with this. Touch up some elements. Excellent. We still have not addressed this part. Let us mix turquoise with white and apply it here. That will look good. With that, our work together is finished. We've gotten acquainted with the wonderful original acrylic paint. We've painted an original landscape based on a photograph using Pebeo company's paint. In a modern, vibrant style. I hope you enjoyed my lesson. See you in the next lessons.